criticizing the Bible is not anti-Christian. I think Christians are not as sensitive as Muslims. They can take it. I think like the crybabies are the Muslims. I think Christians can take being in their Bible being criticized. I don't think they take it as personal attack. Do you, Greg? Do you take it as a personal attack like Muslims do?
Not at all. I welcome the opportunity to answer questions from doubters.
Yeah. Again,
Yes,
it's the
yes,
the
but
Muslims who are the crybabies. Christians can take criticism.
I think it's also
yes,
the tone and how aggressive you are and so on.
Yeah.
yes, but I think it's also important that we understand that these things were written in a certain situation where a lot of corruption was happening everywhere, and it wasn't just rich people, it was corrupt rich people. We didn't revolt against Rome for no reason. We revolted against the corrupt priesthood as well as Rome and everything that was going on. It was against corruption, and taking it as Jesus hated rich people simply for them being rich it's not right.
Well, that's my interpretation of it. And if you disagree, we could argue that, but that would be a long argument. If you read the New Testament, I get the impression that Jesus, he didn't like rich people. But we could argue that, but me pointing that out is not anti-Christians. It's just me disagreeing with the text.
I don't think you're
I'm not.
anti-Christian. I think, though, that the tone of the conversation sort of went that way.
No, I don't think so. I think people could disagree and be friends with each other at the same time. I don't think it comes off as an attack.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm an atheist. If a Christian comes and says, like, I think atheism is idiotic, I'm not going to take it as a personal attack. I'm actually going to try to befriend that person more, because I would be like, oh my God, this is going to be interesting. Tell me, why do you think it's idiotic? Like, I would be more interested to talk to that guy. If somebody comes out like, yeah, I agree with atheism, I'm like, okay, boring. I want to talk to somebody who disagrees with me. But yeah.
Armin, I just said in the chat that you just opened a new sect of Christianity, a
But
totally
interesting. But
legit
thank you,
one.
Yolette. But I appreciate your
Yeah.
perspective as well. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't mock you.
And
I
who's
was joking. in a good way.
yes. All right. Who's next?
Miss Savannah back?
Savannah. And
I
Greg also raised
am, but I'm driving right now, so if there's too much like background noise, I can wait.
No, it's
Is
okay.
it
You're
good? Or... Okay.
Yep. Are you going to be safe? We don't want to cause a car accident.
Yeah. I've got both hands on the wheel. Promise. Christianity. Someone said that there are multiple ways to interpret Christianity in the Bible, and I think that's really true. And I think, that you can see that it's not very strict in, there's Catholics, and then there's churches like the mega church in Mexico City. What I wanted to get to earlier, though, was David was talking, like, going out, and I'm kind of changing the subject, so I'm sorry, Armin. But David was talking about going out and like waving these flags and, showing up together and doing all this stuff. And I think I like that idea. I think that, when I see, so something that I see a lot, and I'm in San Diego a lot, right? And so there's a lot of left leaning, you just see a lot of like signs and flags and people talking about it, and people will have like freaking like stickers on the back of their car that say like, don't blame me, I voted for Kamala, right? And it's just, to me, it's kind of hilarious to see this, right? And to see these people protesting and, waving like Palestinian flags, and it literally in the same group, Palestinian flags and gay pride flags, just within the same group of people. And so my point is, though, I like the idea of getting together and, protesting, kind of like causing a scene, if you will. But I worry, though, that, when I see these people and they are out here protesting for things that I'm against or I don't believe in, they are not convincing me. In fact, I'm kind of laughing at them. And so what I'm trying to say is, what if that is the move, if that is what we want to do, then how can we go about it in a way that gets people to listen to us and not just be outside on every street corner with these flags yelling and protesting and whatever? Because, like, to me, when I see people doing that and they're yelling and they've got these loud horns and they're blocking traffic and all this stuff, for me, it's like, you not only did you not get your point across, you're actually making it to where I don't want to listen to you. So what can we do? What does it look like so that we're not causing people to turn away from us, to close their ears, you know? Okay, yeah, that's basically my thought from earlier, if anyone has anything to say about that.
Thank you, Tora, for always telling me when my mic is muted. Anybody?
Okay, cool.
Tom is on the list. Anybody who wants to respond, you could actually open your mic now if you guys want to respond to Savannah.
Yeah, I mean, we need to communicate more and talk about it, not shout at each other or fight. The problem there is, like Armin has alluded to before, is that the Islamic extremists, yes, you can talk to some of them and convert them away, but most of them you can't. They just keep attacking, so you have to defend yourself. But yeah, we need to talk about it more. Talk about things calmly, rationally, truthfully, logically, whatever you want to call it.
I mentioned him before. He has a channel in Hebrew and in English, and he said that we should sue anyone that lies about anything to do with Jews or Israel, and that will actually put so much friction on so many people. And we certainly have enough lawyers, with Jews.
I think we should talk to people when we have disagreements, but with some other people we're at war with. And I think with those people, the time for conversation is over. We have to just crush them. We have to win a war. And I think like the plans that we have needs to be more about war strategies and how to win a battle rather than having conversations. I mean, having conversations with people assumes good faith, assumes that people are actually interested in knowing the truth, assumes that people are talking to you because they are ready to listen to you and ready to have their opinions change. But we are actually talking about people who want to come and kill you, not just you, but your entire society. So I think if we misunderstand the situation that we're in and try to have more conversations, they're just buying time to spread their disease more into our society. Savannah, you want to say something?
Armin, yeah, sorry, I can't very well raise my hand right now, but
Yeah.
isn't that kind of so that's kind of what I'm getting at is, and I'm going to politely disagree with you here. I understand what you're saying and I see why you're saying that, but at the same time, that's what it feels like to me, right? Coming from that side. And so my point is, like, I don't think that we should lead by example. We should do something different, right? Okay, hold on, I gotta go. In doing so, we can create a
A
new
role model?
Yeah, exactly. A new role model, a better role model for solving conflict instead of, because when someone is on fire and they're throwing fire at you and you throw fire back, both of you are getting hurt. One of you, if not both of you, are going to end up dead, right? And that, in talking in terms of like countries or religions or, groups, it can also lead to it's just not sustainable, because when a society gets hurt, right, they stay hurt, they have to rebuild, they have to, and so when you fight fire with fire, and I'm sorry, I'm probably rambling, I apologize, but like,
No.
I
I
think
mean, if somebody is shooting at you, shooting back is probably a good idea. Like like, oh, we shouldn't be doing. I shouldn't shoot back because I shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Like, I think shooting
True,
back, like,
true.
if
Okay,
yeah,
true. But what if you had a different way? What if you had a full body armor proof, like bulletproof bodysuit
do we have
instead?
do we have that? Because it seems like we don't.
No, we
Well,
don't. We don't. I
no,
don't think.
but
We don't.
we don't. But what if we can create? And this is metaphoric, right? But what if we can
Right.
create that?
We can't.
Well, it's a big what if. Once you okay, you while you are working on creating that, we should be shooting back. Okay. So before
It's impossible because you'd
once
have to have like a complete autocracy. You wouldn't have any freedoms. You'd have to have cameras on everything, and yeah, you can't do it.
Armin, can you mute me, please?
yes, okay. But okay, so I'll mute you, but I also say that I think we can't take any chances because we're talking about survival. Like, it's and also if we want to be like, if we want to lead by example, well, they don't believe in our example. If we want to be a role model, they don't believe in our model. Their whole goal is to end our model. So what can we do to be a role model? Like, their whole purpose is to destroy everything that you represent, and then you want to be like, oh, let me lead and you could follow my lead. Like, I'm here to end you. Like, what are you talking about? Right? And because this is a matter of survival, I think you can't take any chances. Like, this might be ugly, this might look ugly, and we're like, I wish there was a better way. But okay, your better way might lead to your extinction. Do you want to give it a chance?
Exactly.
I wouldn't give it a chance. I wouldn't give it a
Can I?
chance. I would rather live and do the ugly thing rather than die because I was trying the beautiful thing.
Yeah, but Armin, don't give up. Was just a suggestion. Don't give up on trying to talk to Muslims altogether. I don't know if you have done that. Don't go into like
I'm
kill,
not
kill,
talking
kill
about
mode too much.
average Muslims. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not talking about average Muslims. I'm talking about people who are yeah, I'm talking about Islam as a disease itself. Okay? I'm not talking about the patients. I'm talking about the cancer. I'm talking about the disease itself.
I can I clarify a little bit?
Yeah, go on.
War zones are different, right? But as of right now, like I'm in San Diego and it's peaceful here, right? So what I'm my point was when I go out and I see that people are blocking the streets, they're blocking the highways, people are blocking entrances into buildings that align themselves with a political belief that they don't believe in, right? People are costing people money, costing people time, people can't get to work. Okay, they're screaming on the side of the road. They
Yeah,
have flags and
I
all
don't
this stuff.
understand, but go on.
My what I'm saying is though, because it's important that we get our voice out there, right? And we
Mhm.
want to be heard. And at least the more people that can listen to us, and maybe they don't necessarily agree, but they will take the moment to listen, right? What can we do differently?
Can I?
Because what I'm saying is, what can we do during that time when we're outside protesting and we have the flags? Because that's something I would do is if I believed in something, I would go show up for it. But what can I
All right.
do to
Savannah,
ensure that the person?
I think that different places are in different places geographically around the world are in different situations.
Jilly, we
So,
can't hear. Jilly, your
oh,
audio is low. And
so
Savannah, can I mute you?
You can mute me if you want to. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. If you can, because I don't want you to. Oh, you muted yourself. Okay, never mind then. All right, because I didn't know if you could actually touch your phone or not. Go on, Jilly, and then guys, we need to move on to the other people on the list because the list is long.
yeah, I'm just responding directly to Savannah. I just want to say that different places around the world geographically are in different stages. Where I am currently is Australia. So we're a country where I think a lot of people don't agree with what's going on. The majority of people are not putting their head above the parapet. so that you're getting a situation where a set of minority voices are running the discourse. And for this situation, trying to convince people that they need to stand up and talk, or they're going to walk over a parapet, over a precipice, is a difficult place. But I think it can still be done in Australia. In Iran, for example, it can't be done. And in Israel right now, they're at war. They have to fight. And Israel did try the technique of making itself impermeable with Iron Dome and all of that sort of thing. And we still lost people. I think you need to devise different strategies for different parts of the world and different situations. That's all. I just wanted to make that contribution. But I will say that voices in countries like Australia, where I am right now, voices that actually stand up and try and speak are being silenced in different ways and with different techniques. You need to be very cagey about how you get around that.
Okay.
I actually
By
think
the way,
that was a really good answer. Okay.
okay. That's okay. No, that
I,
was good. That was
I
good.
just my question was what does it look like though? And I'm not asking anyone to respond. But that's a good answer. It looks like different things. Okay.
So actually, Savannah, I don't know the answer to your question, and I think like one thing we could do in this group is to come up with the answer to that question collectively here as we grow here together, because that's a very good thing to figure out. But yeah, okay.
Thanks.
So, like when
That's
you're managing.
not comfortable with that. I'm comfortable with keeping track
Okay.
of order.
Okay. Then don't do it then if you're not comfortable with that.
Okay, thanks.
So who's next?
Also, uh, just gotta say, I am completely against the drug war. I care about Israel, and I care about whether Maduro is helping Hezbollah Shaitan. Like, that is what I care about.
So we turned you anti-Maduro today then.
Well, I don't know what connection it allegedly has with Hezbollah Shaitan. If it does have a connection, I will be very anti-Maduro.
He does.
I mean, Venezuela
It's
buys drones from the Islamic Republic.
yep. And they also provide them refuge. And Hezbollah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they also they provide them tools to get in the drug cartel or like drug selling business in Latin America.
Even it's gone worse. Even you go to Mexico. I mean, my apologies for interrupting, but just wanted to add something quick. When I'm like, you speak English? She's like, no. Yeah, I'm like, what? You don't speak English or Spanish? I'm like, the fuck? It's insane.
All right, guys, we need to get on the list. So who's on the list, Samantha? It's a big
Okay, so
list.
on the list we have Jerry, Richard, then Armin.
Jerry. Guys, keep it shorter because there's big list is big. And Greg, you are already on the list. I see Michael is on the list.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to address a couple of points regarding the purchase of oil from Maduro. That would actually be illegal under U.S. law. The OFAC sanctions that were imposed by the executive branch would make that sale illegal. The idea that U.S. foreign policy is driven exclusively by oil interests, very easy to debunk because most of the countries on that OFAC list are oil-producing countries. It'd be a lot easier to buy the oil from them than overthrow their governments, a lot cheaper. And this is before, historically, U.S. became a net oil exporter. So even in the 1970s, during the oil crisis, when they were desperate for oil, interest-based foreign policy, stopping dictatorship regimes, trumped those oil interests. So it's very easy to debunk. Also, Armin, that's completely off topic, so I apologize, but I thought you'd want to know. 2CTV is reporting that the protesters have destroyed a large IRGC communications hub explosively. So if that's true, that would seem to have resolved the access to arms issue you discussed earlier.
I think that's like the glue in this vast array of crazy political views we hold.
Absolutely. And it's a good glue to hold. It's the best.
Mark Khamenei.
Mark Khamenei.
Yes. You guys are amazing. Love you guys. Love you.
Love you too.
Also, fuck TYT.
Yes. True. I agree. Okay, Richard, by the way, Richard, thank you so much for that. And also, the point that you made was very interesting. You have some really good information. Okay, it's my turn, right?
Me, I think it's me, no?
Richard, then
Oh.
Armin.
So Richard just spoke. Armin, you're Musa. You're right after
Okay,
me. You
Armin,
want to
then
speak
Masad.
first?
I just wanted to say junk yogurt. That's for now.
Junk yogurt. Okay, yes. All right, I'll make my points quick so that Musa could speak. First of all, with regards to Jerry's point, Western countries became powerful not because of Christianity, but because of Enlightenment values. It's not because they're white, and it's not because they were Christian. It's because Enlightenment values, classical liberal values. I mean, there's multiple names for it. You could call them classical liberal values. You could call them Enlightenment values. You could call them the modern Republican tradition. There are multiple names, but they're all the same. They're pointing to the same thing, right? And it's actually kind of easy to see. First of all, they were always white and they were Christian for a very long time, but they happened to all of a sudden become so powerful exactly after the Enlightenment values picked up. Like they had many years of being Christian. All of a sudden, with Enlightenment values, they became very powerful countries, right? Another point is that you could look at there are many other Christian countries who are not that powerful. There are many Christian countries in Africa. There are Philippines. There's many Christians in South America. There are many Philippines as a Christian country. So if Christianity was supposed to be the reason why they became this powerful, how come all these other Christian countries didn't end up being that powerful, right? And if it's because they're white, there are many poor white countries, right? Russia is a white country, like Ukraine is a white country. Like these whited all Eastern European countries that had less, it was mostly Western European countries that had these Enlightenment values that made them powerful countries. Like Ukraine was one of the poorest countries in the world, right? Russia is not a, on a per capita basis, it's not a very rich country. And also, we could see that it was the Enlightenment values, not Christianity, because you could see that every single other country that copied those methods and those systems and those values also became a very powerful and rich country. Like Japan is not Christian, but they copied the Western Enlightenment model and the classical liberal values. Japan became a powerful, rich country. You could see the difference between Taiwan and China. Taiwan is not Christian, but they followed the Western model. You could see the difference between North Korea and South Korea. South Korea picked up the classical liberal values, the Western model. South Korea is not Christian, but South Korea became a rich country. So it's pretty clearly not Christianity and not whiteness. It's pretty clearly the classical liberal values. It's capitalism. It's the separations of power and government. It's secularism. It's freedom of speech. It's all of these things, right? It's all of these rights. I mean, I make a list of what these values are. I have a Google Doc about it, but that's what makes the difference. Also, another point regarding we have different Christians, different types of Christians. They're diverse. So how could you be anti-Christianity? Well, there's a difference between we have many different types of Christians, but there's one Bible. Okay, so when I criticize the Bible, I'm not I don't care about all of their differences. I'm criticizing the Bible. Also, I wanted to just point out about the nature of the war we're in, because this war that we're in is kind of different from other forms of war that we have been. So sometimes you might not notice it. So it's very important for everyone to be aware of because here's the problem for our enemies, right? So our enemies are Islam, the woke left, communism, and the woke right. These are the enemies of the Western model. These are the enemies of the classical liberal values. These are the main four enemies, right? One of them is new, the woke left, but the woke right, the communism and Islam, they were already defeated in battle, in the battlefield by the Western model, the classical. Oh, yeah, the fourth name is the Western values. So the names are classical liberal values, Enlightenment values, the modern Republican tradition, or Western values. These are the four names for the same thing. Between, I think, 1935 and 1945, I think these are the years. It seems like the classical liberal, like the Western model, the liberal model was being defeated because most of the planet, if you looked at the map, most of the world was either Nazism, Japanese imperialism, or communism. So it seems like liberalism was on the way out, and it was basically a naive dream that some philosophers had. It became popularized because of the French and American Revolution, but now it's time to get real again and go back to imperialism. But all of a sudden, we saw after the World War II and after the Cold War, we saw that the liberal model, the Western liberal model, defeated all of its enemies and became the framework for how to govern all over the world. So after World War II, it became the dominant model in the West. And after the Cold War, it became the dominant model everywhere. Almost everywhere that is a country, we have now parliaments, we have prime ministers, presidents, we have some, I mean, a lot of it is like a fake model, but it is the Western model. So the whole, everywhere that there's land, we now have the Western model dominating the whole world. Communism was defeated, fascism was defeated, and Islam was, Islamic empires like the Caliphate were defeated as well. And the problem is that after the Cold War, all of these three powers try to win again in the battlefield, but the liberal model was so powerful that made countries that were abiding by it so rich that they could afford such powerful armies, that it became very obvious, especially mostly America, that it became very obvious immediately to all these three powers that they're not going to be able to defeat the Western liberal model in the battlefield. So the new model is, instead of biting at your geography, they're biting at your politics. They're coming straight for, they're basically using your own systems, they're using your tolerance to get in, and you're using your democracy to just get into your capitals. And they're basically, instead of invading your land, they're invading seats at your parliaments, right? By changing the demographic in your nations, they're getting elected into the seats of your parliament. So this is the new model. And you might not see it coming because it's a lot less violent, but it's a lot more deadly. It's a lot less violent, but it's a lot more deadly because you might not see explosions. You might not see bullets. This is the way of the ballot instead of the way of the bullet. So you're not going to see people shooting as much. You're not going to see explosions because once they become the even a significant, they don't have to become the majority. They only have to become a significant part of your politics to slow you down. And slowing down prosperity kills. More people will die from not, like, the missed opportunity of the prosperity that you're going to be losing based on politics that is being created by inferior values. That missed opportunity in prosperity is going to kill more people, because people don't know that poverty kills. Poverty means people eat less healthy. That means people can afford less leisure time. That means people can afford less health care. This is not news, like, people don't watch this on the news because it's not as sexy. But if you add up, this is why we say communism, for example, kills more people from poverty than from violence. Like, if you go look at Stalin and Mao, a lot of people keep pointing out the violence and the number of people who they killed by violence. But if you actually look at the number of people who died from starvation under communism, it's actually higher than the number of people who died from violence under communism. Every missed opportunity in economic growth is more people dying, because wealth brings health and lack of wealth brings more death, and it slows you down for your enemies to bypass you. So this is the war that we're in. We're fighting for, this is the battle of demographics, and this is war by the ballot rather than war by the bullet. And this is what we need to be afraid of. This is what we need to defend against.
Couldn't hear Samantha.
We have Masad
Yeah.
next.
Samantha, if you want to, me and you, we could talk about why I defend capitalism. If you want to have a private conversation about that, because I know you don't want, because we're not gonna attack you. If you want to, if you would disagree with capitalism, that's completely okay. Like, if you want to say why you don't like capitalism, that's completely okay.
Yeah,
Like, don't be.
because capitalists believe in freedom, so you're free to say that you don't like it.
But you don't have to if you don't want to
I
defend
mean,
your
it's cool.
position. No pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to hear criticisms of the free
I'm,
market because you learn from it and you can adjust
yeah.
and continue.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what your problem with capitalism is, and we're not going to attack you. if you express yourself. But go on if you want to say something, and if not, you could pass.
Capitalism feels demonic.
Okay.
And it's Massad's turn.
Okay.
Demonic.
That's good.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That don't put that was more that was it's good that you actually shared that. So we don't have to. I think she wants you to now talk about something else.
Sharing,
Actually,
thanks for sharing.
could I share
I'm just
something?
gonna answer the things that were talked about before.
Wait. She's saying something more. Hold on,
Oh, sorry.
Samantha.
I'm
Go
sorry.
on. Yeah, no, go on. What is it, Samantha?
Can I possibly share something I wrote?
Yes, go ahead.
Communism is a godless religion. In the beginning, there was a darkness, and a light was brought by the communists. Its warmth felt miraculous. It shined with such brightness. In the absence of God, the Creator is the party. We, the people, claim all power and agency. The people and the people alone are the motive force in the making of world history. The creation is making heaven on earth into a reality. The creation is a new utopian society. The communist collective holds absolute morality. Everything relies on complete and total equality. Salvation is found in becoming a revolutionary. The tool used to create is the MLM ideology. Communism is a hammer, which we use to crush the enemy. The Red Guard waits with fire to burn the apostasy. An army of the people is invincible. To stand in its way makes you deserving of hell, a pain you earned if its existence you tell. Communism is a godless religion, and I thank God I feel safe enough to say as much. Close eyes, breathe, go out, and find grass to touch. The weeds of socialism are better than the crops of capitalism. Do better or continue to face ostracism. Unlearn all your classism, unlearn all your racism, unlearn all your anti transgenderism. We feel entitled due to historical imperialism. We carry the original sin of colonialism. Forgiveness must be earned by overthrowing the system. Remember when you were rescued by the missionaries of Maoism. Remember the light you felt fighting for communism. Remember once being an insider with secrets meant to stay behind barbed wire. Remember they ritualistically called you a liar. Remember the echo chamber that once sang like a choir. Remember they burned you till you can no longer speak without feeling their fire. Remember like you have been possessed. Remember all the truth that has been repressed. Remember all the slanderous lies that instead got expressed. Remember invented conversations, invented accusations of being an enemy of the oppressed. Words burn like an oven, sacred principles left abandoned. Trust lies in a coffin. Communism is a godless religion, instilling a fear of committing a sin.
Okay, guys, nobody, first of all, that was very interesting, and I don't want, because this has been more, Samantha has never shared this much with us, and I think that we should, because I want her to feel secure to share more with us later. I think we shouldn't we should just hear that and that's it. So I'm not going to respond to that, because I want you to feel encouraged that you're not going to be pressured when you share with us, and we could, like, only when you feel more comfortable we're going to talk about it more. So, and you'll always be welcome here regardless. You always be our friend, okay? and and you have the space and you have us, okay? So don't ever feel like we're going to be shaming you or attacking you or ostracizing you for your views, okay? In fact, we appreciate hearing different opinions here, okay?
Nice job, Samantha.
Yeah,
And
that
thank
was
you.
really
That was,
beautiful coming from a literary perspective.
can you send that to me, because I want to read it, but there were parts of it that I didn't understand, so I want to read it again. All right, so let's go to Musad.
I've got a list. Let's see if I can get through it. One tactic is to sue liars. You know, the number of times you can sue the BBC. Trump knows the game. Everybody criticizes him. He plays it. They lie about him. He sues them. Make it difficult to lie about him. Make it difficult to lie about me. You know, make it more profitable to tell the truth about me. That's what we can do. We don't have, you know, we're not soldiers. We're not calling for violence. But suing people is totally legal. To Savannah, the war by the Muslim Brotherhood on America has been declared decades ago. You are at war. They're just doing it very slowly and very cleverly. You can't try to solve a problem by talking to them, they don't want to talk to you. They have a whole theory why every word of yours is actually some kind of demonic influence that is just trying to get them off the right path. And yeah, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to a woman for sure, but not to a man who's not a Muslim. And if the Muslim contradicts, they don't care about this. They will kill Muslims if they're not Muslims like they believe. So the Muslim Brotherhood, the FBI has known about it for decades. They've got their documents, their plans. I mean, it's ridiculous. You've got Muslim Brotherhood agents in government sitting in your different security, I forget what it's called, committee or whatever, being told government secrets. It's ridiculous. Now, in terms of quoting the books, it's fair enough to quote the books. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in the books. But you have to look at also how people understand what's written. And that changes over time. I'm just saying in general, we need to always remember how people practice things rather than what's exactly written, because there's so many interpretations. And for example, I know about Judaism, we don't really read the Torah straightforward. So the religious people follow rabbis and the reforms that have occurred over thousands of years. Yes, the source is the source, but it's also, just to bring it into the equation to be practical. It says something. I might have, the Talmud says all sorts of things that I don't agree with, and Israel doesn't practice, and Jews don't practice anymore. We just
Can I
discarded them because we
quickly?
don't like it.
I think that the change is more of an influence of the outside values rather than what comes from the religion.
It's a complex discussion, and I probably don't know enough to argue it properly. But in our world today, what's important is actually how people understand their religion rather than what's exactly in the book. So at that point, I posted a meme. I just put it into ChatGPT and it came out really nice. So I posted it in the discussion about Biden and Trump controlling Bibi. I wanted to say about Asmon. Asmon is a very smart guy, very smart, but he's also very ignorant. He doesn't know much about anything. And I think he knows that. I'm pretty sure he knows that. I think he even said it. But he's okay. I think his heart is in the right place from what I can tell. He's nutty, but not in a bad way. So I think it's good that you did cover him, and maybe cover him again if he talks about something relevant. He has a big audience. So I think that has been said. Now I don't know if Andrew is still here, who was complaining about Trump taking over Canada and Greenland. And I think it's very good that Trump is trying to not take over, but have more influence in the world, because our choice is between America or China. And I prefer America. Is America perfect? No, but it's so much better than China. I mean, come on, guys, let's get serious here. Yes, America has flaws, absolutely. It's made of people, and people are not perfect. And I think that Canada has behaved really, really bad. And I think Trump told them off, basically. They go against him with the Middle East. They keep helping Hamas, prolonging the war, recognizing Palestine. I mean, what kind of a country is this? And America protects it. I mean, let's get serious. Canada is just another state in the real world. American can just march in, take it all in one day, probably. Say thank you, America, for protecting us. And, and that's it. And stop going against them so much, especially on geopolitics. Nobody interferes in how you run your schools or your social security or health or whatever. So I think it's very good that more American control, I'm for it, more American influence, it's better than others. And now last point, if I can, is why we need God. I'm not religious, and I used to believe that if only people just followed common sense and logic and reason and good arguments and evidence and science, we will not be perfect, but we will improve life for everyone overall. But it turns out that when people don't have God, they just make a new God. And they become obsessed with the LGBT gods and with the feminism gods, or they made Stalin into a god. The guy in North Korea, they think the leader is some sort of, was descended from the heavens. I don't remember, some story with a bird or something. It doesn't matter. But it's all very religious, So I think it's an instinct that people have, right? Like it or not, people have this religious thing in them, and they will always find something. Now, what's good about a belief in one religion for a nation is at least they're bonded around one idea. Yes, it could be a bad idea, but in most cases, the idea evolves and eventually becomes useful. Otherwise, it dies. So, in most cases, you'll see the ideas that are successful flourish in the world. And that's why the roughly liberal democratic idea has worked in Japan, like you said, because if you pick up a good idea, it tends to flourish. My point is that it unites people around one idea, and it's very difficult to unite people around something that does not contain the mystical, the outside this world, because we just have this instinct in us. We just keep inventing religions. We just do. Yeah, but I mean, you got to recognize it. People all the time invent religions,
Wait,
you know.
can I respond to that?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's unfair to say when people have no God, they've turned into feminism and I mean fourth feminism and like crazy versions of LGBT and stuff like that. Because if you actually look, there's also a whole bunch of progressive Christians who fall for those type of stuff. So blaming it on atheists, we have a shit ton of atheists who are anti-Islamic, anti-woke left and the woke right, and we also have a lot of Christians who are in favor of all of that nonsense, right?
No, no, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think there
Okay.
is a correlation between, I think, although, yes, there are
I mean, right
areas.
now we're saying a lot of the Jew hatred in the United States, for example, is coming from a lot of Christians, like the Candace Owens types and Nick Fuentes types and Tucker Carlson. These are
Yes, but
all
mostly
very
from
Christian. These are very Christian people, right?
but
Um,
mostly from the other side. Mostly,
no,
actually.
but well, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of progressive Christians as well, but I do agree with you that people need
Hmm,
collective identities. People
hmm.
need something greater than themselves to belong to feel like it belonging to, right? People need a sense of awe. People need a sense of purpose. People need a sense of community, and
Yes.
religion offers all of that, right? I think like
It also offers
but
values, a set of values. This is the
well,
important
I
part.
think that I think the values that the classical liberal model offers us is superior, and I think they have been so superior that religious values are trying to, like as you said, religious values change, right? The
Yes.
religious values change to copy how superior these Western classical
They do
liberal values
anyway.
are.
Not
Yeah, I
necessarily.
know,
The
and they try.
11th century Islam changed the other direction.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm saying the values in religion that you admire, they are trying to catch up to these classical liberal
The ones
values.
that I
And how,
admire, yes, yes,
yes, the
absolutely.
ones that you admire, they're catching up to something external to religion that works better, and they're trying to pretend that the scripture was always advocating for that. I'm not in favor of forcing anyone out of their religion, right?
No, no,
But
obviously.
I think that the people who do not believe in the religious model, they should also advertise their methods. Like, it's not like if you come and say like, hey guys, I don't think you need religion, here's a better model. Like, if religion is providing value to certain people, well, then they can keep their model. But it's always good to compete and have these ideas fight against each other, right? Because then it's through a Darwinian competition that the best
Hmm.
methods demonstrate
Yeah, yeah,
themselves, right?
the methods that work survive.
Let them clash, let them go after God, and through the battle of ideas, the best ones will I'm not
No, no,
disagreeing with
I know. I'm just
you. Yeah, yeah,
refining
yeah.
the point. What I'm saying is we have to be careful with that. We just need to be careful because
I think we need more clash. I think we need more competition and more battle between ideas, because that's how the best ones rise up, right, against the other ones.
I'll tell you
And
why. I'll tell you in a very practical way. I know that if fewer people practice Judaism in Israel, we will be a weaker country militarily.
then
Also, people will tend to leave the country more because it'll be no different. You know what's special about us. I think so. I'm a bit
well,
afraid that when
Israel is
religion
different because
disappears,
in
I don't want it to take over either.
yet,
But
okay, because I think the best alternative to religion, in my opinion, that gives you all of that, a sense of community, a sense of purpose, a sense of a collective identity, a sense of belonging to something greater than yourself, a sense of fighting for something that is more than
yes,
your own personal needs. Okay, I think what could do that is not religion, is patriotism. It's
Yes,
nationalism,
it's
right?
okay.
And I,
So what
I yeah,
Judaism is a combination of both, which is why it
exactly. That's why
works.
I think for Israel it's different, because for Israel, Judaism is not just a religion; it's a national identity. Okay, so
Yes,
that's why it's different for Israel.
exactly. But if you think about it
Yeah.
a bit more, and you look at the different Christianities and the different Islams that have developed in different countries, they also have something like that. For example, the Irish Catholic religion is nothing like the Spanish Catholic religion. They're very different.
This is more
They
about culture and tradition and rituals rather than belief.
Yeah, and it's
These things.
all interacting
And
with each other,
I'm very
chicken
much
and
in
egg.
favor of that. This is why I'm in favor of secularizing religion. More Santa Claus, less Jesus. Because I think secularizing religion brings the best part of the traditions and rituals
But
of the
it
religion.
loses the actual thing that keeps it alive, though.
Not
People stop
necessarily.
believing. If people, if
You can
people,
see that among secular Jews, keeping the Jewish culture alive. They go to synagogue, they read the Torah, they do all the
no. The secular Jews tend to leave Israel more than religious Jews.
no, but I'm
Okay.
talking about a lot of secular Jews who are
Yes,
very much in love with all of their Jewish culture without necessarily believing in any of it, right?
that is because their grandparents were religious, and then the next generation starts losing connection with the tradition and with the whole point of Israel existing. And some people leave, and the people that leave tend to be the
Yeah, but
most secular, least religious people. So
you're talking about the extremes of the seculars, because if you want to go there, I could also talk about the religious Jews who are basically a leech on Israeli society and they're not working and they're
yes,
not contributing. So there's also that on the other side. So if you want to talk about, I could show you secular Jews who don't even believe in God, who are major Zionists and
yes,
love,
absolutely.
and you
But
could show secular Jews who are betraying their country.
I'm talking about stats, not about examples. I know about this, but I can see
Yeah.
that people who are not religious are more likely to leave the country.
But I also looked at the stats, and the religious Jews who are not providing anything to society and leeching off the Israeli society, they are growing in number and they're becoming
Yeah,
a much bigger part of society because they have a lot more children than the rest of Israel. So if you want to
yes,
talk about stats, we also have a big problem on the other side.
I
absolutely.
have to
But
interject.
I never
I'm
said there's no problem. I just wanted to point that
Yeah.
out that there
I
is
have
an
to
issue.
interject because it's not really true. It's true that they have more children, but they actually have more secular children than the secular families. And we see a lot of them leaving the religion. It's not really presented in the media as it should.
No, that's
If
not
we
what the
had,
number. I mean, they are very isolated. They don't. Very few of them make it out. Like they live in a
it's
bubble.
not
They don't. They
true.
don't.
It
That
used
I've
to
seen
be
the
true,
stats.
but they have it. I mean, I'm Israeli. I know. I know the ultra
But
orthodox religion.
personal experience is not a match for statistics.
No, but we do see the statistics. So in the 1980s, they told us that by 2020 we'd have a majority of Hasidic Jews, and it's far from it. It's not happening because they continue leaving the
And you
religion.
see that,
That's
and you
true.
see
That's
that as a
true.
good thing. And you see that as a good thing.
Yes.
I did, yes, of course.
Yes.
Okay, that you're
But
celebrating that some of these people are becoming secular
okay, can
and
I
leaving
say
the.
Yes,
something?
but because but
It's
it's
like a
because
single.
they're but it's because their interpretation of Judaism doesn't really go with Israel. And what we actually do see is that the Zionist Orthodox Jews are becoming something new,
Exactly.
and they are the ones that are
Exactly.
growing, but
That's
they
my
are
point,
still
though.
religious.
But that's my point. You cannot say Judaism is good for Israel. You have to say the interpretation that I agree with is good
Our
for. Somebody
religious
claims Judaism
soldiers
is good for
died.
Israel. If somebody says Judaism is good for Israel, what they're actually saying is my interpretation of Judaism is good for
But
Israel.
that's not
Bes-
true.
Because there are many other people's interpretation of Judaism, which is actually very destructive for the idea of Israel. But go on.
But it's not the same story because you have to understand why Hasidic movements have even evolved. They evolved to protect the Jewish community in exile while they were persecuted by Slavic people in Eastern Europe. So what happens is that they come here and it no longer is the reality. They dress for Eastern Europe. They act in a way that is still ghetto.
Can I say something?
How does that
please?
negate my point? That doesn't
I
negate my
can
point.
answer your
Because
point.
it's not an interpretation of Judaism. It's just the reality has changed.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
give
but says
numbers.
you,
Okay?
not them. But go on.
I want to give numbers.
Yeah.
If you look at the proportion of kippah wearers, right, religious Jews that died in Gaza, it's much higher than the proportion in the Israeli population. Okay, so that kind of contradicts what he's saying. These Orthodox Jews that wear the big, the big hats and so on. It's not that they're more
Russian hat?
religious. It's not that they're more religious.
It's actually Lithuanian.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Let me see.
They're more religious than other religious Jews. It's that they follow a very specific type of Judaism, right?
But that doesn't negate my point. I acknowledge that.
But what does negate your point is that there is a disproportionate number of kippah wearers who died in Gaza as soldiers in the fighter units. So they have contributed to the religious ones are the ones that were more likely to turn up and volunteer to serve.
Yeah, but Israel's own report says
The
that
report
there's
is
a growing
about a
part.
specific community. It's not about all religious people. It's about the
Yeah.
ultra-Orthodox.
Never did I said it's all.
And not all the ultra Orthodox, because some of them are
When
Hasidic
did anybody
Zionists.
when did anybody
So,
claim that
Armin, to answer your point in numbers, some religious communities disproportionately contribute to the IDF, while other
and
religious communities.
some religious people disproportionately are harmful to Israel.
Yes.
Both of this is
Yeah.
true, right? Both of these are true.
So that means it's not about the religion that is the issue. It's about what kind of religion they follow.
Yep. My point is that you could get both of these from Judaism, which is true. But go on, Jilly.
Look, I'm a career anthropologist who's worked in the field with cultures. And when I listen to you guys argue about this, atheism, religion, whatever, what I hear is that one side will point to elements of the other side and they'll say, look, they're the problem. And then the other side points to elements of the other side that says they're the problem. In fact, religion, atheism, all of these things, I can't go into this in any depth without spending hours, and I'm not going to explain what culture is. But culture is a filter through which we engage with reality, because actual reality is not accessible to humans. This is complicated and complex, but so what happens is what makes a culture work or not work, and this is true for atheism, it's true for religion, it's true for all these other filters through which we engage with whatever reality is underneath the things that we see and perceive. What makes them work is some of them are engaging with that reality in a more functional way than others. You and I, we look at a tree, we say that's green. Parents, when we were little, said, oh, look, the leaves are green. We could be seeing something different, but our parents taught us to always say green. So when we talk to each other, we say green and we think we're agreeing. Cultures are a way of binding groups of people together with a view of the world such that they can function together. So I can point to atheist cultures, particularly say the easy one right now is the leftist woke culture, which is largely secular. I can point to those things, or I can point to religions that I think are not functional or not superior or whatever. But that's not in itself where the problem lies, atheist versus religious. The problem lies with functional ideologies that groups of people share, and whether those ideologies are functional or whether they're not. That's what I'm trying to say, that the argument that the two of you are making
So,
is
Jilly,
almost...
can I ask you two questions? Is that okay?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so do you think that there are atheist perspectives that could be functional as well?
Yes, I do.
And that's okay. Yeah, so you do. And two, do you think there's benefits in these different perspectives and these different cultures challenging each other? Like, do you think there's utility in that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
have any problem with that. I see some cultures, either secular or religious, as being less productive and less functional than others.
Could
Okay.
I push back on that,
Hold on.
Armin?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Just one second. So you're saying some of them are less functional than others, and
Mhm.
would you agree that the best way to determine that which ones are less functional is to get them to compete against each other? Isn't that the best way for the less functional ones to die out?
I think historically, looking at history, when I look back at the history of humans as far as we know it, every culture that ever succeeded for any length of time tended to be united by shared spiritual beliefs that helped them interpret, as I said, the underlying reality. And it doesn't matter if the underlying reality is what the religion thinks, only that the interaction works.
Mhm.
I mean, I can give examples, right? So the problem that I see with secular society, and I'm not anti-secular people, most of I would say majority of my friends are secular. The majority of my Jewish family is secular. The problem that I see is that there's such a diversity of ideas that it's very hard for secular people to unite together without what's happening on the left, the woke left, and Islam is that they're uniting on the basis of intersectionality. They actually don't have anything in common, but they're uniting
Uh,
on the basis of intersectionality. And that's another problem that occurs within secular societies. And
But
yes, I do.
but Jilly, but Jilly, secular people don't unite over their secularism. They have other points of unity. For example, their
Yeah,
national, like it's their nationalism or like their national identity or something else. It's not like
I agree.
secularism itself. Yeah,
But that doesn't ensure that the values will be good. I mean, the Third
Mhm.
Reich was a national identity, primarily a
I
national
I don't
identity.
agree that the third. I don't think they
Agree.
were. I don't agree that the Third Reich was national. I think they were anti. I think that fascism is anti-national because nationalism is the idea that the state represents the nation and the state is for the nation. Fascism is the other way
Oh,
around. Fascism is the idea
uh,
that the nation is for the state.
the Nazis are called National Socialists.
North Korea considers itself its democracy. I don't care what they call themselves.
True.
They're not nationalists.
The word National Socialist, I think, was developed as a misnomer in order to unite various factions within a proportional representation government, which had been imposed on the Weimar Republic. And in fact, it's a great example of how that kind of intersectionality can bring a country down. You need shared goals and you need shared beliefs. I mean, when I listen to you and you're largely secular, I am much more religious, but I find that you and I have a lot of shared goals and a lot of shared beliefs, and that unites us, right? It's not
Right.
intersectionality in the sense that I'm not out to get rid of atheists and you're not out to get rid of people who have religious views. There is a
Right.
larger uniting thing, and it's never going to make us into enemies. But my main point was simply that this is not about atheism versus religion. And it's a much deeper issue about how people interpret and shared frameworks that bind them together.
Okay. Okay. Oscar.
Yeah, so I think that like when it comes to I don't know why conservatives are so afraid of like plurality and people think different things. It's okay if people don't think the same thing. People don't have to line up with a certain framework necessarily or with like a religious framework, especially one that is like Judeo-Christian, which promotes the idea of like authority and these kinds of things. So I want to push back on the idea that atheists have like positive values. Atheism is a negative term in the sense that it doesn't promote anything positive. Communists weren't the way they were because of their atheism. They were the way they were because of their communism, the positive values that they believe in. Whether they were religious or spiritual or not, because some of them delved into the occult and these kinds of things. They were not how they were because of their atheism. They were because of their positive values, their Nazism, right? So I often hear like more conservative or religious minded people kind of make this straw man out of atheism to say that atheism promotes positive values, when in reality the problem with communism is the positive values that they promoted. And secondly, the problem with communism as well is actually how much it was similar to religious observances, right? They had their own, like, I mean, communism has this whole saint thing where they put Karl Marx, followed by Stalin, followed by Lenin, and all these people, and they constantly have this cult of a personality. Actually, I would say that,
By the way, we had a list. Get to your point. Greg was on the list. He was next. But go on.
my bad. I want to push back against this straw man of atheism. Atheism is just a negative term. It's like saying if most people participate in a given activity, it's just saying I don't participate in the activity. It's not a positive term. Communism was the way it was not because of its atheism, but because of its positive communist ideas, right? So yeah, I just want to say that.
Agreed.
That's wrong.
All right, Samantha. Samantha, I'm gonna have to go. So would you be able to mod the rest of the discussion? And
Could someone take over?
okay, anybody wants to mod?
I've just posted the current list.
Musa, do you want to mod?
I don't mind.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to speak about the one thing before you leave, if I can just do it quickly. Or if not, it's also
Okay.
fine. It's not like urgent. You really need to leave.
Okay, really quickly. Can you do it really
Oh,
quickly?
so yeah. I wanted to say something. Time limits, I wish it could be more like restricted about how the conversation is flowing, because it becomes faster flow, faster paced, and therefore more interesting. Also, slower conversation, if it's even interesting, I fall asleep. It's less interesting because
Yep,
it's
but
slower.
no, but Samantha said she's not
No,
comfortable with. So
sure.
as he,
I meant generally.
yeah,
Yeah,
but as he already enforces time limits on people's turn, he already does that.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Musat could do it. Musat will manage it, and he will also put time limits.
Is
okay.
3 minutes
And
good?
also one other thing, if people could try to gather their thoughts before talking, I will do so as well if it's possible. That's it.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. Maybe you should remind people more often when that happens. That's a good idea. Musad, you could enforce cat lady standards. We're gonna call it from now on. We're gonna refer to them as the cat lady standards.
Yeah, the cat
All right,
lady
guys.
rule.
And I will not stand on my own.